Mommy's with the maggots now.
What will be, will be.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another Backlot Banter movie review. My name is Tucker Hayes, of course. I am joined by my co-host Tanner Dykstra, who just cannot stop communing with the dead. Oh my god. Today, we're here to talk about Evil Dead Rise, the 5th installment in the Evil Dead franchise, a franchise that you and I have been watching over the last few years and are certainly fans of. But if you are a fan of Evil Dead or horror movies or other movies, you can join our Discord. We got that. You can join it in the description, and you can also subscribe to our channel, and you can ring the bell for notifications and give us a like and a comment, letting us know your ranking of these movies, because this is a popular franchise, Tanner. Oh, whoa, enough shenanigans. We got to get to the brass tacks. Something very serious, Tanner. 85% of the people who watch our videos are not subscribed. What the hell is up with that, you know? I'm going to open a Book of the Dead and make you a Deadite if you don't subscribe. This is a threat.
Yeah, these threats are getting more and more creative as we go on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But Tucker, why would you say you opened the Book of the Dead and something about Deadites? Are we talking about Evil Dead today?
I think we are. Yeah,
Okay,
Evil Dead Rise, directed by Lee Cronin and starring a whole cast of people that I have never seen in movies before.
Nor have I.
And I think I'd like to know your thoughts on Evil Dead Rise, Tanner.
I was quite excited for Evil Dead Rise. It always looked quite promising, you know, for sure bringing the gore that we all know and love the Evil Dead franchise for, but also bringing a sense of a camp that I feel it's been maybe missing if we look back to Evil Dead 2013 from Fede Alvarez. Maybe I could revisit that one and appreciate it a bit more. But no, Evil Dead Rise I quite enjoyed. I think it's a very good film. I think it is just all you could ask for from a modern Evil Dead film.
Yeah.
I mean, we have the gore, we have the camp, it recognizes the inherent comedy of the Evil Dead franchise, of the series, of the concept, and really plays with that in interesting ways. We are out of the cabin in the woods now, Tucker, thank God. We are in a crumbling Los Angeles high-rise apartment, and hijinks ensue, perhaps more than they have in any other Evil Dead film.
Yeah, I also really enjoyed this movie. I think that it did recapture some of the energy that I felt was lacking in the 2013 sort of semi-reboot, whatever. Yeah. This is also a sort of semi-reboot, whatever. The franchise is weird. Even the first 3 movies aren't like, it's not like a trilogy necessarily. It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah.
I really did like this movie. I think that part of what you said that I really want to drill in on is it's the most you can ask for from a modern Evil Dead movie, because I think this movie toes the line, not in the best way, between being an Evil Dead movie and having some sort of campiness and lots of gore and creative practical effects and stuff that are all super quality I want to talk about, but also I think does fall into a few tropes of modern horror movies that make it feel a little less distinct. But I'm not going to be negative overall in this movie, because I really did have a great time with it. I had a bloody good time, Tanner, because there is a lot of blood. If you want to talk about blood in gallons, no. This movie, Tanner, you talk about it in elevators full.
Oh,
elevators full
yes.
Of blood. This movie, I heard a lot about it before it released, about how much blood was used, like in a production sense. Yeah. That's certainly not a lie.
Yeah,
with how much blood is used.
We are bathing our characters in it. We are scrambling around with it. It is coming out of every orifice and new orifices and cuts and gouges and stuff like that. Because let's talk about the brutality of Evil Dead Rise. There are a number of key moments which I feel will become, you know, the iconic things from this film. You have the scissors in the nose, of course. You have let's see what else is there. The elevator full of blood, of course. You have the wood chipper towards the end. If we wanted to get, I don't know how much spoilers we want to talk about.
Here's the thing: spoilers for this movie really boils down to what are the kills, and if you don't know what the kill specifically looks like on screen, even if you know the concept, okay, scissors go up the nose. I guess you can imagine what that's like, but like, it's in the moment. That impact is through the filmmaking. So there's not really a lot to spoil. I think, frankly, that's because, and here's my biggest criticism of this film, I like the characters conceptually. I think spinning it from a group of, 20-somethings in the woods, which is all the other movies, except for Army of Darkness, and putting it on a family in a very enclosed urban environment, I think is what this movie's strongest suit is. It makes it distinct from the other films in a very unique way. It plays with a enclosed space and sort of the realism of why they're trapped in very interesting ways. I think it reinvents this family dynamic and like them being a little more cautious with attacking the Deadites because they're family members. I think that is really cool.
Yeah.
But I don't love the characters.
Sure.
And I think that's because largely, other than the main actress that is the mommy Deadite that we've seen in all the trailers, I think they kind of lack personality. And I think that's also because the film just doesn't have enough time to really develop them personality-wise. There are 5 characters for us to deal with, and we're presented to them, and they're fine.
Mm-hmm.
But then they are going through a lot of shit, and they don't get a lot of time. We don't get a lot of time to learn about them. And because they don't have like super obvious, distinct, like iconic personalities at the beginning, I just don't really care too much about the characters. I'm not super invested in them.
Yeah, because you have the mom, obviously Ellie, who turns into the main Deadite, mommy Deadite,
yes.
if you will,
of who you have termed
Maggot Mommy, of course.
Maggot Mommy. Make that trend, everyone. Maggot Mommy for Best Actress 2023.
That's true, because as we all know, she is with the maggots now.
Yes.
From the trailer and from the film. I'm glad that they didn't cut that line from the film. We've seen a trend of that this year. But of course, so she is like the main Deadite, and you have her sister, Beth, who comes into town. She's a guitar technician that comes back like once when she has to like rewire so they can listen to the record on the turntable. And then there are our 3 kids. So Beth and the 3 kids are sort of like trying to survive the night. I do love this all takes place in one night.
Yes,
I also love how the film opens and how it sort of like toys with the idea and sort of teases almost the idea of doing like a modern teens and they're back at the cabin and look, they have a drone now. And then it's like, no, we're not doing that. We're doing something different. And I do appreciate that, but I think you have a good point about the characters. They're not revolution, they're not revolutionary characters, but do they need to be? Are any characters in any slasher like revolutionary character types?
Well, the reason that I was hoping that this film could sidestep the trope of just a family surviving the night, which I think is something that modern horror movies really lean heavily on. I mean, that's what the Conjuring movies are and the Insidious movies, and like you can go down the list of, I don't know, The Visit, who the hell knows.
You're next, things like this. Ready or Not.
You think about probably the most iconic horror protagonist in history is Ash from the Evil Dead franchise, and he has a very iconic personality. He's
everyone's favorite final girl.
Exactly. Oh, absolutely. Certainly mine. But these characters aren't iconic. They're not particularly distinct. They're really just there to be vehicles for the action, but that doesn't mean that they're not giving great performances. I think the performances elevate the relatively simple script and situation, or not situation, because the situation's pretty crazy. But like character situation that they're in. There's like some stuff in there about like dad leaving and pregnancy and mom stress. And it's not super fleshed out, but the performances really do sell it, especially from the actresses playing Ellie and Beth, who are just hamming it up. And they're going full on with these movements. And I really do think that the actress who plays Ellie, unfortunately I don't have her name on the top of my head, she's the iconic horror performance of this year. Absolutely. She's phenomenal.
Yes, Alyssa Sutherland is her name.
Okay.
But we'll maybe have to compete with Megan, whoever you want to say is Megan, for the iconic horror performance, because she is fantastic. People have been praising her on social media. She has been very receptive to that. Justifiably, because she is genuinely great. She is, good. She's good as the nurturing mother, of course, but when she has to go into the makeup and be skittering around and like calling her children little titty sucking maggots or whatever.
Parasites.
Parasites. That's what it is. She's great, and then she's so good. But there's, of course, the classic shot from the trailer where they're looking at her through the little peephole on the door, and she is like mugging up in that thing, having a great time, smiling. She's got great
look in her eyes. She's got great control over her mouth, being like slightly off kilter and like a little bit wider open on one side and the other. I really do like that, and I think that it does. This is the element that I think sets it apart strongest from the other Evil Dead films. Is there was never really an iconic Deadite, and that was frankly my problem with the Evil Dead movies and why I didn't love them. Is they were kind of just people with some makeup that could do something. It's hard to tell, but she is a character.
But I was gonna say, like, there's always in the Evil Dead movies, with the original and then 2 and then the 2013 remake, there's the moment where the one is like poking their head out of the little cellar opening, and maybe doing like the split tongue thing in the new
Mhm.
one. But yeah, we haven't had like the Deadite, and then of course spoilers as we said up top. And this is like the main thing I think for spoilers is her kids get gradually turned into Deadites as
Yeah.
well. Danny and Bridget.
Bridge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bridget, get turned into Deadites as well, and they are also very good as
Yeah.
Deadites.
Yeah.
Bridget especially because you
Yeah.
know she's this archetype of this like the activist teen girl
Mhm.
and stuff like that. She's painting like a generic climate change protest sign and stuff like that. But when it's time for her to like turn on like the very like chaotic Deadite persona. She really
Mhm.
does. She's getting burned. She's stabbing people. She's getting a Staphne baby doll thing put
Yeah.
through her face. It's all good stuff, and I
Yeah.
think everyone does do a good job from that perspective. And then of course Beth is our final girl with
Yeah.
the youngest child, Cassie.
Yeah.
And they're a good duo as well. Cassie, was really very good for a young child actress
Yeah. Oh,
in
she was great.
a horror scenario like this, doing the screams, running around, being
Yeah.
convinced by her mother to let her back in as a Deadite,
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that. All very believable, all very good.
Yeah, and I think that is also just sold by the incredible makeup work, visual
Yeah.
effects, and special effects that
Yeah.
this film is working with. I think some of the most impressive that I've seen in a long time. You don't really see any corners cut. The amount of gore is, of course, ridiculous, and you know that it's over the top. But like special effects, like glass going down someone's throat that's like poking out a little
Yeah,
bit,
yeah.
or biting someone's eyeball off, or cutting off an arm or whatever. It all looks so good. And of course, there's a ridiculous amount of blood, but that just gives its film its own distinct feel of blood dripping off of everything and being
Yeah.
so ridiculous. That's where the camp of this movie comes in, and of course through Maggot Mommy's performance, that's like got a little jokey energy to it.
Yeah. Other camp moments that I love if we want to go back to my original statement of like things that I think will become sort of iconic for this film are the Staphne thing that I mentioned, and that's another moment where we're flexing the special practical effects.
Yeah.
Where it goes through Deadite Bridget's mouth and out the back of her head, and as she is pulling it out slowly, she is moving her head around to sort of show off like, no, there's no trickery or anything like that.
No, we actually did this.
I'm not
Yeah,
I'm not hiding it behind my head or anything like that. I think it's really quite impressive. And the one thing I did forget to mention from the iconic things, I think, is the eyeball being thrown up and then going down someone else's throat and then choking on it.
I wrote down the note on my phone. Hold on. Eyeball barf hole in one. I said.
Yes, very good. Yeah.
Which is how I'm going to refer to that moment.
Lots of barf in this one as well. Lots of vomit, which was, just a little. It's just some more gross out,
more
disgusting
liquid
stuff.
Yeah, more bodily fluids. Always love that.
Yeah,
Always
just more to splash around in. All the better, I say.
And I also think that this film, horror-wise, does a good job not feeling like other horror movies, and that's not really sold itself on jump scares. There's like one moment when the character opens a box and there's like crickets or cockroaches or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that's a jump scare. That's really one of the only ones, and otherwise it's just tension and gore and performance that's really selling these moments. And I really do appreciate that they didn't just lean into someone's hiding around the other corner or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a lot of slow framing of someone in the background and stuff, and I really did I thought the cinematography in this movie was really fantastic. Combined with the production design of this apartment building, it feels very enclosed, but the camera feels very free, and that it's sort of spinning a lot and going up and down and lots of movement. And it did feel very distinct and very much like what Sam Raimi did with that original trilogy of having a lot of free-flowing camera movement in a horror movie, which you don't see that much of.
No, yeah, I do appreciate that. And Tucker, I think you really nailed it there in that it feels as I said, it feels like the best you can get from a modern Evil Dead film because it is sort of like taking what made those Raimi Evil Dead films so special, which is his use of the camera to really get you in there, make you like present and knowledgeable of the motion that's going on in this thing. Just the chaotic kineticism of a night in an Evil Dead film. And it's present in Evil Dead Rise. And that's something special. It's hard to bottle that energy, but Lee Cronin did it, and I really commend him for that. Anything else about Evil Dead Rise, Tucker?
No, I just want to say as I'm wrapping this up that this is my second favorite entry in the series. Army of Darkness is far and away my favorite entry, which is, of course, it's very different. I think that the energy that it captures really is where I like Evil Dead the most, is leaning into horror comedy. And I think this film does that maybe third best behind Evil Dead, Army of Darkness and Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
But I think that with capturing a little bit of that comedy energy, dark comedy energy, and having, I think, pretty clearly the second most iconic Evil Dead character in Maggot Mommy, of course, behind Ash. This film does have its own identity to a certain degree to stand
nice
on.
balance. It's a very nice balance between everything. It recognizes, as I kind of was talking about when I walked out of the theater, it recognizes the importance of violence and gore and the importance of campy fun times in equal measure, in very equal measure.
Yeah, I do think that it could have lead better into the comedy. I think that in the Evil Dead franchise, what people know is 2 and Army of Darkness that really do lean into camp and ridiculousness. This film doesn't do that. It has some jokey moments through Maggot Mommy's performance, but like
it is not... first and foremost a horror film, though.
Yes. Which I think it could have felt more distinct from other modern horror movies if it did lean more into camp, which is again what makes Evil Dead as we know it distinct. Ash versus Evil Dead, Army of Darkness, Evil Dead 2. He's getting his hand chopped off. It's coming back to fight him. He's traveling in time. It's ridiculous. He's got a chainsaw in his hand.
Yeah,
that's what Evil Dead is to me. And while this I think is it's a good entry in the series, it does feel like it could have been more distinct from what we know modern horror to be by recapturing a little bit of that 90s energy.
It feels like more of a step in that direction from Evil Dead 2013, which was largely like comedy less, I think. But yeah, honestly, Sam Raimi can't be outdone, obviously, in many regards. So it's honestly, don't try to, I would say. And it seems like Lee Cronin didn't. He tried to take his own sort of avenue with this sort of thing. Same with Fede Alvarez. To his credit, he didn't try to make a Sam Raimi Evil Dead film. He made his own Evil Dead film. But yeah, you know what, Tucker? For rating on Evil Dead Rise, I'm gonna land on 7.2.
Okay, I'm gonna go at 6.9. I think this is a very solid movie. I think easily up there with Megan for the horror movies of this year. We haven't really gotten that.
We got Talk to Me. We got Insidious. We got what am I forgetting?
Saw.
Other ones. Saw, Exorcist. We got all this stuff.
Five Nights at Freddy's.
Five Nights at Freddy's. Yes.
Yeah, we'll see what horror ends up at the end of this year. Last year was a very good year for horror movies. But I think this just adds to a nice building catalog of like, solid, but frankly not exceptional. I think that I wanted this film to be exceptional, and it wasn't, but it was still like a really good time. Yeah. A bloody good time, Dan.
A bloody good time. Just how we're adding it to the oeuvre of 2023 horror, like Nefarious, like The Pope's Exorcist.
No. I didn't see that. But
you should see The Pope's Exorcist, Tucker. Anyway, folks, we will be back with all sorts of new horror reviews, non-horror reviews, anything else that you can cover in the wide world of cinema.
Anything you can shake a stick at.
Yeah, anything you can shake a stick at, and even some things you wouldn't.
Oh,
right here on Backlot Banter. Thanks for watching. See you next time.